Is AA keeping you drunk? Is this something that can actually happen? Well, when I first started trying to stop drinking, I went to all kinds of AAs and different recovery meetings, and I found myself in a cycle of feeling better for a couple hours and then going and drinking on the way home from the AA meeting or the church meeting or whatever it was. And nothing seemed to work for me. I was kind of just going back and forth from drinking and not drinking to more drinking to maybe a couple of weeks off drinking, and then I end up on a bender. And everything was confusing as hell. This idea of AA seemed like it was going to work. I mean, you just follow the steps and you get sober, right? Well, maybe, maybe not. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk to you about the differences between people who stay sober in Alcoholics Anonymous and in other programs, and the people who continue to drink. And that's not to say that you need to follow some kind of program, but you should be doing something for your sobriety. And today what we're going to do is we're going to talk to you about the pitfalls and the mistakes people make when it comes to trying to get sober, because I think education is going to help you here. I think this is really going to help you understand at the core what it is about AA that actually works, what it is about other sobriety methods that actually work, and how you can get and stay sober, hopefully for good. So, Terry, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. It's a beautiful day here with some thunderstorms and hail in the forecast. It's wonderful. And I tell you, I thought that AA kept me stuck for a little while. I definitely thought that. I've seen it many times where many people they can't stay sober with AA or any other sobriety program, and it can be a difficult thing.
Yeah.
But there's some tricks that you can use, and we're going to talk about that as we go on.
Absolutely. Now, what was it like for you when you first got sober? Did you try the AA route, or was it only after rehab that you went that route?
A couple years before I went to rehab, I had gone to a doctor and asked the doctor to help me, that I had an alcohol problem and I wanted to quit. They prescribed some meds that could help me with the withdrawal. And they said, go to AA meetings. So I just kind of went to a couple AA meetings, showed up when the meeting started, that very second when it started, left, right when it ended, kept my arms crossed, sat in the back, didn't get involved at all. Didn't talk, didn't open up, anything like that. I did not do. And I stayed sober for a couple of weeks. And then I started drinking again. So that was that experience. After I went to rehab, I went to AA and I went every day because that's what they told me to do and that's what I was going to do. And I still didn't really get involved and kind of kept my distance a little bit. And the main thing was, that I my home life, I just kept it the same. I kept doing the same thing. Those, watching bad TV and not getting out there and not trying to enhance my life or even learn anything other than what I learned in rehab. Mm-hmm. And I started drinking again. So, it was, I definitely didn't get sober right away. And for many, if not most of us, I think that that's a pretty common thing that happens is people try AA or they try different sobriety programs. Let's see, I've heard of Life Ring, there's a Sinclair method. There's lots of different methods of getting sober. And I see that a lot of them, the people will say they don't work, mm-hmm. where maybe it wasn't that they went all the way in or maybe that's not quite the right program for them. So we're gonna, that's what we can get into a little bit deeper here.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of the issue, one of the things that scared me away from AA and recovery in the beginning was step one, right? Admitting that I'm an alcoholic, admitting that alcohol had beaten me. I think that was a difficult thing because that meant to me, hey, you can never drink again. And for a lot of people, I think AA means you can't drink again for the rest of your life. And for the alcoholic, now for a normal person, the doctor says you can't drink anymore because you're not going to have a liver. If you're a normal person and not an alcoholic, you're like, well, I'm not going to drink because I like my liver a little bit more than I like booze. Us alcoholics are a little bit different. We like our alcohol a little bit more than we like our liver. Our liver's, stunting our growth here. It's stopping us from really going out there and drinking the way we want. And so we look at this, and that was a joke, by the way. But we look at this and we're like, okay, why am I not able to stop? Why, to me, is not drinking the rest of my life this big commitment, whereas to other people, it's not so much of a commitment? Well, I think the issue there is the chemical dependency and the fact that you believe that alcohol is not only the only solution, but also it's something that works, and it's something that you feel like you need to live. And I think this is difficult, and I wish that recovery programs would make like the intermediate, the beginning class for people that are just starting out, where it's like, here's what to expect. Which, unfortunately, it's kind of like, you just walk into a meeting and there's people that have been sober 100 years, people that are not yet sober, and it's kind of difficult to navigate. And I think it would behoove us to actually have a portion where it says, hey, this is how chemical dependency works. This is why you're powerless over alcohol. It's not because you're weak. It's not because you're a can't hack it, wimp at the bar. No, it's because of chemical dependency. It's because you had a tolerance that was strong that led you to where you're at now. And we need to understand these things, because then it takes the pressure off of, hey, do I need to quit the rest of my life? Do I need to do this? What do I need to do? And I think that a lot of times AA keeps us stuck and other programs keep us stuck. And it's not so much the program keeping us stuck as much as our chemical dependency keeping us stuck. It's like people that are enablers. All right, enablers, you can enable me or not. I'm going to find a way to get my drug of choice or my drink. I don't need enablers. I can enable myself. Enablers just make it a little bit easier for me, right? But at the end, I would have done anything to get the alcohol, because that's how my mind and my body had transformed. And so I was looking at this the wrong way. I was looking at it as if, okay, these recovery programs are saying that I'm weak and I can't do this and I can't do that, but I want to be able to drink. That's first and foremost. And what I needed to learn, which I think for me, I learned a little bit of it in rehab, but not so much. If I had walked off the street and gone to recovery meetings, I don't know if I would have gotten the same message in the same way. But the message was, alcohol needs to be off the table. Like that is the problem. I'm an alcoholic. I'm not, a guy who struggles with alcohol and this and that. No, I'm an alcoholic. That's what I struggle with. That is the problem. Take the alcohol away, a lot of my problems start to get better on their own. And I think we need to understand why there's that feeling of being stuck, why you're going to meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, and it just doesn't seem to click, and nothing seems to get you where you need to go. And I think that has to do with tools, which we'll talk about in a minute as well. But Terry, what do you make of all that? How do you feel about that stuff?
Well, it's hard. It's hard because when I was getting sober, that meant that I had to take the alcohol off the table. So I had to take the one thing that was comforting to me in my life off of the table. So my chemical dependency had affected my brain, and so I would justify any reason or whatever, whether happy, sad, mad, stressed out, whatever, to take a drink. And that would help alleviate that, although, it would only alleviate that problem temporarily, but that would alleviate that problem for, just a short time, and I'd feel better. So that was the first challenge. Okay, so let me willpower it through. And, okay, I know this feeling's going to come, so it's okay, I don't have to drink. That's what I would think. And then that physical dependency, which my body is addicted to alcohol, would start to kick in. And between the mental and the physical, it's just stronger than any willpower that I could ever have. And that's where the challenge would come in. And that's why I would always go back to the drink. You got that mental obsession, that physical addiction, and those two combined, there's just nothing I could do to fight it, and then I'd have to take a drink again. And this was the hardest part about that, getting over that hump.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was kind of a hump. For many people, that hump is not such a sharp thing. It's like a big slow humps, because a lot of people, they keep that obsession and those cravings going for months, and some people for a couple of years after they stop drinking. It's a difficult thing to work through when it's just slowly grinding at you every day. It's kind of like my mom was bedridden for the last 20 years of her life, 25 years of her life, and it was because of pain, and she never had any severe pain. It was just a mild, constant pain, and just constantly ground at her and grinded. And so eventually she just kind of gave into it. And that was kind of the way alcohol was working with me, is that it would just keep grinding away, and eventually I'd give up. For me, most of the time, the giving up would happen in, half a day. But for some people, they're able to stop for a while, maybe weeks, maybe months, maybe even a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't replace or at least develop a new mindset, I know Laurel earlier, she said it's what did Laurel say here? It's a change in lifestyle is what she said, and that's one thing I had to do. But to change that lifestyle, I had to change my thought process, my mental perspective on life, and that's what I slowly started to work on. Now, it didn't come right away. Not at all. It was something I had to work on slowly. So we quit alcohol, and we quit this one thing that's helping us, and we quit it right away. And then we have this thing that, yeah, I see people, they say it's going to work. It's not working for me right now, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. And then maybe it slowly starts to help. Maybe you see a flash here of a good feeling of being sober and some gratitude there. And it's really hard to grab onto that little thing when there's this big thing that was my savior. And that's kind of a difficult thing to get through. At least it was for me in the beginning. And that's part of the reason a lot of people say that you have to hit a super low bottom before you're going to finally do enough to stay sober. Mm-hmm. Anybody can get sober. They can get sober hundreds of times. There's lots of people that do. Unfortunately, many of them don't get sober that last time, and it kills them. But to stay sober is a difficult thing.
Yeah.
And it's a process, and it's something that we really have to believe. And sometimes we have to hit that bottom to get there, because then we just realize, okay, this is not working. I cannot go any lower than this. But actually, you can. You can't get lower. I've seen it many times when people think that their bottom is the lowest bottom they can hit. I've seen them hit lower. But it's for me, I had to hit a particular bottom, and it was enough for me to finally get sober. But it took many tries. And unfortunately, a lot of people, it takes many tries, and for some people, they don't have enough tries in them, and it gets them in the end.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing.
Absolutely, and I think it's really important to take it slow. For me, when I got sober, life had to slow down a lot. I needed to really just calculate every moment and stop living 5 years ahead, right? What if I just lived today? What if today it was enough to just not drink? And still, even today, 8 years sober, some days it's a win just to not drink. Because it's like sometimes those things happen. And what happens is over the years of being sober, you're going to get tools that are going to help you through certain things, right? So in the beginning, had I had all the stuff that happened to me this year, or happened around me, or whatever you want to call it, this year, I wouldn't have been able to stay sober. I mean, I dealt with the passing of my father a couple months later. We just got back. My daughter had to have some procedures done, which was stressful and difficult. And, we look at those things, and those were the kind of things 8 years ago. I'd like to think I'm some great dad and great son, but I probably would have been at the great bar, because that's what chemical dependency does to you, is it makes you think this is the only way out. You can't stop your thinking. You can't stop this. You can't do this. The only way out is to drink. And so when I look at that, I start to understand that that was a lie. That was a lie that alcohol told me, that there was no way to do that, because on planet Earth, of the 8 billion people going through lots of different things, they're not all drunk. Just me and, some other people. And so we need to understand that we don't need alcohol anymore. You don't need it. That is a lie that alcohol tells you, that you need it. It's a lie. You say, well, Terry says, well, my mom, she had all this pain and I had to deal with it. His body and his mind would say, I need alcohol because I can't see my mom in this condition and feel the feelings that I have without shutting something down. I need to shut it off. I need to not feel. I need a drink. And that's how we think, but that's not the reality. The reality is I can stand there and I can be sad when I need to be sad. I can stand there and I can go through the things I need to go through as they're coming and as I deal with them. And each time I do that sober, I'm building a new block in the wall that separates me from alcohol. And it becomes harder and harder to go and drink. Now, in the beginning, when I was trying to get sober and I'd go to the AA meetings and then go drink right after, I didn't have any tools. Couldn't even deal with an AA meeting where they talk about not drinking. Right? That provoked feelings in me to where I needed to drink. And now I realize that everything I make it through sober is a little notch in the belt. They hand out coins. You've made it a year. You've made it 9 months. You've made it 6 months. But in your brain, there's also rewards and trophies for everything you make it through sober. Because it says, oh, hey, I lost my job and I didn't go to the bar. There's a little trophy. I did this. There's a little trophy. Wiz says, I haven't drank since Sunday. There's a little trophy. All right? And we start to look at it and we start to understand exactly what's going on, and we start to train our mind just like your mind was trained. You weren't born, right? The doctor didn't take you out and say, hey, you need alcohol, young man, young woman. That's what you need. No. That was a learned thing. There's only 2 things that we're born with. That's the fear of falling and the fear of loud noise. That's it. But even when the fear of falling and the fear of loud noise happens to a baby, they don't go to the bar. No. That's a learned thing. You learn that. And then you train your body and your cells to crave alcohol, to need alcohol, to desire alcohol, to want alcohol more than anything. It's a trained thing. You have conditioned your mind and your body over and over and over again saying, this bad thing happened, I drink, I feel better. Only now, you're probably here watching this, you're going to meetings, you're understanding that that's not exactly working. Bad thing happens, you go to the bar, you're not really feeling all that much better. In fact, now you need to drink to get the normal level. The level you used to run from, that's what you're trying to get. Because what happens is it arcs and it goes down and down and down, and pretty soon your tolerance goes up, which means you can tolerate a hell of a lot more. Your need goes up, which means I used to be fine with 3 beers after work. Now I need a half a keg. And so what happens is it starts to chip away and you become this person you didn't even recognize before. But did you actually become that, or is it chemicals driving your body? It's much like they say when you're in, you're looking at people to date or whatever, and they say, oh, you're thinking with the wrong head. It's chemical. That's what happens. You think with the wrong set of mind, and it changes the way you believe, changes what you do, changes how you act, changes everything. That's why you see people who are like, big muscle man lifting weights. He gets the girlfriend, and all of a sudden he's acting like some teddy bear, and you're like, dude, didn't you pick on me last week, and now you're Mr. Teddy Bear guy because you got a girlfriend? It's chemical. It's a chemical change, and you're like, wait a minute, how did that happen? Like, a dude was roughing people up. Now he's the teddy bear guy. And all of this happens because of chemical, and alcohol is the same way. You either figure out a way to get it out of your life, or it will control your life. That's the fact. You either figured out, like the teddy bear guy, I don't care how much couples counseling he goes to, it ain't going to change the chemicals. It's not going to happen. He needs to get a new person who likes buff people, not teddy bear people, or whatever it is. Right? That's what we're looking at here, and we need to understand that that's the problem. And I think when we look at AA keeping us stuck or keeping us drunk, it's not so much AA, because I think in terms of recovery programs, AA does have a good program of recovery. I think a lot of places have good programs of recovery. I think the flaw is the beginning. The beginning of, I think I can still drink. And even when we go and we recite, alcohol, I'm powerless over alcohol. My life's unmanageable. Okay, fine, good. But do you really believe that? Do you really believe that? Or are you really saying, yeah, I'm powerless over alcohol right now, but one day I'll be able to drink again? It's not chemical. All the stuff Marcus and Terry are talking about, it's not what it is. Come on. It's just alcohol. That guy down the street drinks it and he's fine. Well, chemical dependency is a whole different ballgame. And once we understand that chemical dependency is at play, then I think everything starts to change.
Absolutely, and when we start to think about the chemical dependency and and looking at it from the other side, so you were mentioning like the little things you get a chip for 30, 60, 90 days or whatever, and just a little celebration, or I went to a party and I was able to stay sober and everybody claps, or something like that. Those little things in the beginning, especially, will start to change that chemical makeup in your mind. That's what it's going to do, and that's where those little victories happen. At least they did for me, and where you can come into where the challenges come in, especially in the beginning with something like AA, but probably many of the other sobriety programs as well, is this chemical imbalance in our brain is trying to look at the negatives. And one of the biggest negatives that you see in the meetings is AA seems good, but that God thing, that's one of the biggest negatives for many people that I see coming in. They don't want to do the God thing, or just the fact that maybe somebody in there just doesn't see, the way they talk is just like, what are you, crazy? Or you see some guy that's got 45 years of sobriety and he just looks like the grumpiest man on earth. And it's like, that's not what I want. But when I went in and I finally was able to stay sober, I stopped looking at that stuff. I stopped trying to judge other people or judge the program or any program for that matter, because I did many different things to stay sober. And what I did was I looked at what worked. I looked at those people that looked like they were happy, that seemed to have good sobriety, and they kind of had what I wanted. They had a house and a family and a dog and a nice car, whatever. Those materialistic things, but it was little things like that I looked at. I was like, yeah, that seems pretty cool. Okay, what are they doing? Okay, they're doing this and this. All right, well, I don't know if I really believe, really agree with exactly what they're saying, but maybe if I keep an open mind and not just push it down and say that's a bunch of bull, but maybe just keep it open-minded. Okay, it's working for them. All right, that's cool. Whatever works for them. Maybe I'll touch on it, see what's going on. Maybe it's going to help me a lot. And that's what was really starting to get that chemical change in my mind, was starting to see the positive things. They talk about gratitude a lot. We talk about gratitude a lot. And that was another thing that helped with changing my mindset, starting to be thankful for just the little things. Even if it was as simple as, I didn't drink this morning, so let me see if I can not drink this afternoon too. Or I got a full day of sobriety. Those little things are huge. And that's what I started to kind of keep track of, is these good things that are happening in my life. And yes, there's going to be stumbling blocks, and I definitely stumbled, and I still stumble today, but I don't drink, and I don't take a drink when I stumble. I just think about, okay, well, I've gotten through all of the bad stuff that's happened in my life so far. So far I have 100% success rate. How's that? That's a great way for me to look at it, is I have 100% success rate for the bad things that happened in my life. So pretty good chance I'll make it through this situation as well. I'll just try to take it a little step at a time, do what I can do to help this situation, and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've tried to do throughout my sobriety, is just take it little steps at a time. You know, sometimes in getting sober, especially in the beginning, and I bet Marcus experiences as well, but you get all this different information. Information overload. You know, there's all this different stuff that people are telling us to do, whether they're alcoholics or not alcoholics, or they're a doctor that knows alcoholism, but does he really, because he's not one, or whatever. And you get all this information, and it's difficult to decipher through. For me, it was really about just trying to look at the positive, keeping it super simple, just concentrating on changing that mindset into a more positive mindset, and starting to go in the right direction. And just a little bit of progress, hey, that's all I need, man. That's how great things happen, is a little bit of progress on a consistent basis. Eventually it becomes huge progress. And maybe it even becomes victory. And that's what I've tried to do, and that's what's worked for me so far.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to realize that, you know, there's a lot of things that can keep us stuck. It's our job to, one, get alcohol off the table, and two, find a new way of living without all the baggage of, what does it mean to say I'm an alcoholic? What does this mean? What does that mean? And when we're talking about a lot of the mindset stuff, it's important to realize that there's certain things that every alcoholic pretty much goes through to get the mindset they have that's going to get them sober and keep them sober. And I think a lot of it is looking at, you know, what is it that I think about? How is it that I view the world? And a lot of that we have in our sobriety course over at talksober.com. If you want to support the channel and learn about what we're doing and help us reach other alcoholics, and also get a lot of tools for the mindset, there's a 30-day class you could go through over here. You just go to talksober.com, click the big yellow button. It'll take you to a sign-up page that looks like this. You could sign up. It's only $27 a month, which is less than the price of a domestic drink at home, which is pretty cheap, right? And it's going to give you all those tools and everything. You just fill all this out with your name, everything like that. You can cancel whenever you want, and it's going to give you those tools right away. There's also all kinds of different things here as well at talksober.com that are going to help you. And I'd like to give a shout out to Megan. I remember when Megan first started coming around here, she was struggling with sobriety, and she says, let's see, hey guys, my 3-year sober is Saturday. Congrats on that. It's like 1,000 days sober, which is pretty cool. She said, I can't believe it went fast. My first time gaining any length of sobriety was when I started watching you guys, and it helped me so much. Thank you. All right, Megan. Well, congrats on that. That's a big deal. 3 years that's a good one. So congrats there.
Congrats to all of you with your sobriety. David, 28 days, and Mr. Wiz, you got, 4 days now? Awesome. Keep trying, man. You'll get there. Groom's got 9 months. Awesome. I know I missed a couple of you. Oh, Laurel, you've got 360 out of 365 alcohol-free. Congratulations.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Good job, everybody. You know, there's a lot of mentions, like in the chat that I was seeing. Like one is I don't like the fact that I have to admit I'm powerless over it. That's one. There was another one earlier where people identify. You know, one thing that a person didn't like is that people identify themselves as alcoholics in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And, you know, for me, that's one more thing that I just try to let go of. If I don't agree with what they're saying, and I don't like it, I don't have to listen to it. I don't have to take it to heart. And that's what I try to do, is just let it go. That's, you know, people are gonna be the way they are. There's some people in the rooms that I see, and I'm like, you know, wow, that person is I don't know about that thought process, and why are they doing that, or why are they saying that? And I think that absolutely, but I try not to take it to heart. People are trying. I do truly believe that everybody's trying. They're all trying, and maybe they don't have quite the right way of doing it as far as I'm concerned. But if it's going to work for them, that's great. And if it's not, maybe they'll find a better path to take. But it's not for me to judge them. That's for sure. What I need to do is take care of myself and my sobriety. And I have to realize that my sobriety is my responsibility. And a lot of that is not getting myself all worked up over what other people are thinking or saying. And and because if I do that, then that's just going to bring up that anxiousness, and that might eventually drive me to a drink to push that anxiousness down. So that's just kind of the way I look at those things. I try to stay, as I already said, open-minded and not worry about what other people are thinking or saying. Unless it's affecting me, of course, and then I deal with it at that point.
Awesome. Asatosk says, what do you think of using Valium under doctor supervision for withdrawal? I would do whatever the doctor tells you to do when you're detoxing. I'm not a doctor. Terry's not a doctor. A doctor is a doctor. And detox can be deadly. So whatever they tell you to do, I remember when I went into rehab, I didn't want to take things, but they said, hey, for the first 48 hours, you need to take this. And I said, okay, well, you know what you're doing. You're a doctor. I'm not. So I did listen to them. And when they said it's time to stop, I did stop. So, yeah, I think listening to the doctor is a good idea for recovery and also for detox, because detox is very, very, very dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. Detox almost killed me, folks.
Yeah.
Literally almost killed me because I did not go to a doctor. So definitely see a doctor. This is not something you want to mess with. You don't want to use the internet for detox answers.
No.
Absolutely not. You need to go to a doctor.
Yeah, and he's also saying, he's worried about substituting one addiction for another. Whatever they gave me for detox, I did not find addictive because I was not using it for that purpose. Is there a risk? There's a risk with anything. But what I would do is I would go and I would do what they say for detox, but have a plan of sobriety. Like if you're just going to be like, oh, hey, I'm going to detox and then go back out and drink, get patched up, which, a lot of alcoholics do. Unfortunately, that's not only not a smart way to go about it, but it's also an extremely expensive way to go about it because those drunken ER visits are not cheap. And so what I would do is have a plan ready. What am I going to do to deal with the alcoholism and my addiction for other stuff? And then weigh it. Okay, what is the risk here with the addictive factors of this? I mean, we met a guy in rehab, Terry and I, who he refused to get the stuff for his dental stuff. Like he wouldn't even do the pain meds. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to go that far. Like if I have a teeth removed, I'm going to have him use what he needs to use. But when I get home and he has the care package, I'm going to give it to my wife and I'd be like, hey, dole this out. Years ago, I was dealing with asthma and they gave me prednisone, which is good for asthma. It stops your asthma attack. It also keeps you up all night and makes you feel like Superman. And I was like, hey, wait a minute, I like this a little too much. And so I went to the doctor and I said, is there anything else you can give me? She said, no. I said, can I break these into little pieces? And, and so I took them as needed. And then when I was done, we got rid of them. So that's very important to look at is what's going to affect me, how and why, and what are we going to do? And what I would do is focus. Focus on your sobriety plan. What are you going to do? Because if you don't focus on a solid plan, you're going to be susceptible to anything. If I didn't have a good plan, I wouldn't have gone to the doctor. I would have been like, okay, how do I order this stuff and how do I get a lot of it? Because I like feeling like Superman. And so I had to rely on the sobriety plan that I had, which was I can't be chemically altered at all. I can't deal with this stuff no matter what it is. Doctor says I need something, I'm going to listen to the doctor. And when the doctor says stop, I'm going to stop no matter how hard it is to stop. Because that's what this is about. Now, with some things, if it's like, hey, here's this super strong pain stuff versus the little one. I'm going to try to get by with the little one first. If I can't, then I'll go to the big guns, So I do treat everything very, very carefully and very strategically. And I slow down. And I check. Right, that's what, like in AA, there are some good things where it talks about inventory and check-ins. You check in, you say, hey, I'm feeling like this. I like this a little too much. What do I do? Or I'm feeling this way. Or I feel myself spiraling. And I have an agreement with my family, kids, wife, everyone. If I need to go to a meeting, no questions asked. Just go. There it is. And they know, leave me be. I need to take care of myself. When I need to do self-care, there's things that we have to where it's like, hey, I'm going to go do this. It's what I need right now, because the alternative is being an addict, which does not work.
Yes. Are you still there?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
No. I wanted to chime in a little bit on the medicine and things like that. And sure, it's a genuine concern. What I see a lot of sober alcoholics do when they, the first thing is many of them they do what Marcus had mentioned, try not to have to take any mind-altering substances or addictive substances that a doctor, even if a doctor might prescribe it, or at least they try to limit it. But sometimes you really don't have a choice. Sometimes the pain is too much, or you're trying to get through withdrawal, or something like that. And what a lot of sober alcoholics will do in that case is, let me preface it by, part of my sobriety is being honest as I possibly can be. And that's with other people, obviously, and with myself. It's pretty easy for me to be honest with myself when I'm sober. But what about when the mind-altering situations happen, like I had to take a painkiller or something like that? Is that still going to be the case? I don't know. Maybe not. So, what a lot of sober alcoholics will do, and I know somebody that does have issues with painkillers and that drives him to the alcohol, and that's usually the downfall for him, is when they get prescribed these medicines, they give it to a loved one, wife, somebody that knows the situation, and they're going to keep the pills or whatever it is with them, and they are going to give them out according to the prescription. And that way, at least you're not going, I think one more might be good. I'm in a little bit too much pain. Are you really in too much pain? Or whatever. And at least the communication has to happen if the dosage has to go up or whatever the case may be. So that's a tool that many people use in sobriety. But the main thing is as Marcus was saying, is sobriety needs to be the top priority. And with any situation, especially ones where other substances are coming in that a doctor has prescribed, you need to have a game plan. You need to think about it. You need to talk to the doctor about it. They need to know. My doctors know about my addiction, and I do not hide it from them, so they understand that I have that mind problem. I'm trying to think of a better word, but I don't have it. But anyways, at least they know, so they know to be careful when they're prescribing things.
Absolutely. And Neil says the 30-day course is wonderful and helpful, except 23 and 28. We are working on 23 and 28, and they are going to be really good because they're about some recent things. Oh, just 23 there? All right, maybe just reload it. But that course he's talking about is over at talksober.com. You can go to talksober.com, click the big yellow button, fill this whole thing out, and for less than $1 a day, you can get all the tools and everything we've worked really hard on to make work for you and help you understand what's going on. The things that we didn't have when we were getting sober, it's kind of what we wanted to do, is be like, hey, this is what I wish they said when I first walked into AA, or when I went to the doctor and said I have an alcohol addiction, or when I went to therapists. I don't even want to count how many thousands of dollars I spent on therapy and life coaches and all this stuff, and I wasn't able to get sober. And I think it's because a lot of the things that I learned, I'm pretty stubborn, and I had to learn the hard way, which, it's good for the rest of the people, because if I got to go through it the hard way, maybe I can help you go through it the easy way. And that's kind of what we're doing here, and that's over at talksober.com. You can sign up using the yellow button.
Yes. Thanks for pointing that out, Neil. And you can, I'm pretty sure we've communicated on my email, and you can email me if you got any more questions.
Yep.
But definitely do that. I'm just double checking on 23 for you. I want to double check that and make sure.
Cool.
I know 28's not quite there.
Steve says, is anybody here familiar with PAWS, post-acute withdrawal symptoms? Yes, I would say that with any withdrawal symptoms, you need to get to the doctor.
Yeah, definitely. 23's there.
Okay, cool. So only 28 missing, which is going to be a good one. That's one kind of postponed writing because it's about my dad, and I want to make it a good one.
That sounds good.
All right. Well, I think that's about it for today. Hope you guys are staying sober. Check out the Facebook group. If you do want to support the channel, go to talksober.com, click the big yellow button. That helps with what we're doing here. Actually, we're working on finding someone to transcribe stuff or like make notes. So your sign up will help with that as well, and you'll get more notes and cool stuff like that to help you get and stay sober. So go on over to talksober.com, get yourself signed up, support what we're doing, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for being here.
Have a great day.